I'd like to welcome the chairman of the Democratic Party, Assemblyman Mark Gjonaj.
Thank you. Is everybody enjoying themselves tonight? Yes. Has everybody already written the second check tonight? Yes. All right, great. Mark, well done. Now, I want to thank you all for being here. I know that there are several events happening tonight in different parts of the Bronx, but you chose to be here to make an investment in an important campaign.
Right here.
And for a great friend to many of us, someone who has, really done an amazing job representing his community, opening doors of opportunity for a community that had never been represented before, and being there for everyone in every sense of the word. He's a guy who represents the best of what immigrant New Yorkers are supposed to stand for. When we talk about that, we sometimes have one depiction in our mind of what an immigrant New Yorker is. But something I love about Mark is that he defies that in an interesting way. His story is not unlike so many others. Hard-working parents who came here looking for a greater opportunity. Him and his siblings working really hard to make the best of that and to do even better than their parents were able to do. But never forgetting where he came from, never forgetting the culture that brought him up, and never forgetting his family and the people around him who worked hard to give him that chance. And so I think that what the Gjonaj family in general have been able to do is a great story and the best of what the Bronx has to offer. Hard-working families who believe in growing, who believe in doing better than the last generation, who never forget where they're from, who are proud of who they are and what they're about, and who are willing to sacrifice their own personal interests in order to give back to others. And that's what Mark has done. That's what this campaign is about. And that's what Mark will be able to do now as our next council member. So let's give him and the Gjonaj family a round of applause. I want to just quickly acknowledge some of the elected officials. Some have come and gone. We know we just had our Judge Doug McKeon, a great friend to many of us, the administrative judge in Bronx Supreme Court. We have State Senator Marisol Alcantara with us. Next to her, an amazing woman in the Senate who makes Jeff Klein look even better than Jeff Klein is. That's Dana. City Council member Rafael Salamanca. Two of the vice chairs of the Bronx Democratic Party, Joe McManus and Betty Patala. District leader Yudelka Tapia. And, look, I'll be very brief, but I just want to point something out. Many of you wrote checks during the primary for this race. And you know that in the Bronx, we're a heavy Democratic vote. You know that in the Bronx, we take pride in the fact that we have a strong organization and we have the backing of the vast majority of Bronxites when it comes to our political process. You don't normally see us work extra hard in a general election. At least, been a while. But this one's a little bit different for a couple of reasons. During the primary, there were candidates trying to vilify Mark Gjonaj and his family because of the industry that he works in or has had experience in. The message that somehow the fact that real estate was something he was involved in immediately equated him with a bad landlord or a bad owner or a bad leader. And that's simply not the case. When you think about what the Gjonaj family have done, I mentioned the fact that a family who didn't have a lot when they first started and built it with their own hands, made the right decision and investment, worked hard, got their education, encouraged their children to prepare themselves, and to grow a small business into a mid-sized business, and then do it in some cases into some larger investments. Isn't that what we tell our kids that they should aspire to? Isn't that what we tell Bronxites that we want them to have an opportunity to do? To see themselves up, to pick themselves up from their bootstraps? Don't we talk about that in terms of encouraging others to do better? So why should we vilify him and somehow say that that background is a problem when I think it's an asset? That somehow that says something negative about him when I think it's a positive thing? That somebody who's made investments and who owns properties and who helps people find a home is actually staying in the neighborhood. They didn't follow the money to greater riches elsewhere, but instead stayed in the community developing and building opportunities and making sure that people like himself and his family members had a place to call home and didn't get priced out of their neighborhoods. Isn't that what we talk about day in and day out in politics, about protecting in our district? The Gjonaj family and Mark have done that every single day. When we say, well, he's not one of us, I don't know what that means. Because we can't talk about diversity and say that it's good only because I'm Puerto Rican, or it's good for somebody else because they're African American, and deny that to an Albanian family. We can't say that his language isn't of color enough. That wouldn't be right or fair or consistent. We have to own it. We've been joined by Councilwoman Vanessa Gibson. Own these messages. If we're going to talk about the diversity of our borough, then let's own it in every sense of the word. If we're going to tell our kids that they should aspire to be business owners and do well for themselves, then we have to own it and celebrate when somebody's willing to walk away from that. Think about it. Walk away from a successful, growing business to say, I'm going to get involved in politics. To put my personal life as talking points for the opposition. To allow somebody to try to damage our reputation and offend us in front of our children, our wives, our parents, and our family members. This is not an easy time to be in public office. And especially at a time when so many headlines are confusing people. We don't know if we're Democrats or Republicans, liberal, progressive, or conservative. People are all over the place. All they see is people getting in trouble. They don't cover us when we do good things. Not enough. They don't talk about the positive work. You know how many multicultural events, Mark? I've had to tell him, stop already. You're making me look bad. The guy is always hosting activities to bring the community together. Somebody had the audacity to try and say that instead he was trying to help people get away with not doing the right thing and responding to a community crisis, when instead he was the first person on the ground when an issue popped up in City Island, and he said, what do we do to fix it? How do we make sure that the community gets the safety they deserve, but we protect the investment of a small business owner who kept jobs in the Bronx? That is doing things the right way for the right reasons and not getting caught up in perceptions, but rather getting the job done. That is what we need more of, not less of. That is why we need people who want to get things done, not people who just want to talk about it. That is why we need consistent leaders, not those that just want to win you over in election time and have never done anything when there's not an election season. Ladies and gentlemen, that's why we're here. Because this general election, we can't take any chances. In this general election, while maybe some people are out there confused, we want to set the record straight that Mark Gjonaj is a Democratic candidate who can get the job done, who knows what he's doing, who walked away from his own personal interest to give back to the community, who's done it every step of the way while in Albany, and will now bring that same leadership where he's not going to be told what to do. He's going to do what's best for his neighborhood. We know we can count on him. We know he's serious, and this is an investment in making sure that everything goes right as it should in November, and that Mark Gjonaj is the next council member here in the Bronx. So ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome that leader and friend,
Now that is one tough act to follow. And now, if you've ever doubted why Assemblyman Marcos Crespo is our chairman, I think he just proved himself worthy, because we follow him everywhere. The Bronx is lucky to have him, and I'm fortunate to call him the chairman. It's actually humbling to have someone like Chairman Crespo speak so highly of me. To speak to those that really many don't speak for. Whether it be middle class or whether it be for anyone that should strive or does strive to better their lives. If you're a tenant, you strive to be an owner. If you're an employee, you hope someday you become the employer. We're supposed to strive to improve our quality of life and provide for our families. And there's nothing wrong with it. Unfortunately, politics in the nation has created further divisions and hatred. We peg one against another. We find the division and the differences. We focus too much on what we don't have in common instead of what we have in common. We're too quick to destroy and rip it down instead of build. I am truly proud and humbled and honored because political service has been the most humbling experience of my life. I'm not sure my family would agree with me, but it's been incredibly rewarding in many ways because we are fortunate. The facts are this country has been good to me and my family, and public service is the only way to give back. And we should all aspire to give back. And ultimately, give back so we know that when we leave this place, we leave it better than we found it for the next generation. We owe it because the previous generation did it for us, and we need to make sure that we can do it for the next generation. This journey that we've taken together, and as I look around this room, many of you have started with me, not this past election, but 5 years ago, when I first ran for Assemblyman. You've been there for me then, and you've never left my side. Your support and generosity is something that I will never forget. And I will always make you proud, because the investment you made in me, the support that you've shown me, is something that you'll never regret. I will always do right by you. I will always do right by the 13th Council District, and I'll always do right by the entire borough of the Bronx. So thank you so much. God bless you. You make all things are possible. Never forget where we come from, and always strive to be better. Thank you. Yeah.